Good morning, everyone. Thanks so much for joining us at 7 here on The Wax. I'm Tracey McCain.
And I'm Nicole Nalepa in for Caitlin Nuclo. You are right here watching Eyewitness News on The Wax. We have a lot to get to on this Tuesday morning, but first we do want to send it on over to meteorologist Jill Gilardi, who is keeping a close check on our first alert forecast. Hey, Jill.
Hey, today's fine. It's going to be feeling so much better, especially if you're headed out and about this afternoon. Right now, it's a little cool. It's tomorrow, late afternoon, especially in the evening. We're going to be dealing with a round of heavy rain. We could use it. Drought is still a big issue across the state. But, you know, having it come down in a short period of time can certainly cause localized flooding, travel, delays, things like that. And there could also be some 40-plus mile-per-hour gusts accompanying that kind of weakening squall line, we'll call it, by the time it gets here tomorrow late in the day. So we're fine right now. That system's still way far away from us. The Midwest and the Southern Plains getting the brunt of it today, and that's all shifting eastward, but it will be weakening by the time it gets here, and so we're not going to be dealing with severe weather. We're enjoying a beautiful sunrise, though. Middletown, it looks fantastic out there. Temperatures are starting to turn upwards. Look at that, 36 now in New Haven, 28 in Hartford. So we're going to head into the 40s pretty quickly. By about 10 o'clock this morning, enjoying the 40s. Is going to continue to climb as we head through the afternoon, and the high temperatures will be topping off mid-upper 40s to around 50 degrees. So great stuff today. And we're going to continue warming up. We'll show you those numbers as we head through the next couple of days, and more on that upcoming storm system a little bit later. Caitlin?
All right, thanks, Jill. 7:02. Hey, if you're just waking up with us, joining us on The Wax, we do appreciate that. Good morning to you. If you're waking up with us in Hartford, here's a live look outside 91 north and southbound, right by the connector to 84 here, where you're merging. Things are moving along very nicely here through the capital city right now. In Middletown along Route 9, good morning to you. Things are nice and quiet there, as they are here by the Mixmaster in Waterbury, 84 east and westbound. And in Meriden along 691 east and westbound, you can see not doing too bad, maybe just a brief increase in that traffic volume. We do tend to see a little bit of that daytime construction along that stretch a little bit earlier. Most of that daytime work picks up between about 8:30 and 9 o'clock. You can see, though, across the state, no crashes, no major incidents, no road closures. We're moving along very nicely. 91 southbound towards New Haven looking good. 84 eastbound into the capital city doing great. And just about an hour-and-a-half ride 95 southbound towards the George Washington Bridge. That's a quick check at your Connecticut Chevy First Alert traffic report driven by your Connecticut Chevy dealers.
Right, happening right now, new details just released in the DUI charges against State Representative Andre Bumgardner.
Your reporter, Marcy Jones, has gone through the report and is breaking down what you need to know from the Groton Police Department.
Good morning. Lots of new details, especially within this 12-page arrest report. Now, this details exactly what the arresting officer says he saw just after 2:30 on Sunday morning on the Gold Star Highway. Now, according to the March 2nd police report just released by Groton PD, the on-duty officer says he saw a vehicle with its hazard lights on pulled over near Tollgate Road. The driver, later identified as Andre Bumgardner, got out saying he believed he struck, quote, something on the highway. The report says the officer hadn't seen any debris, but did notice the front passenger tire was flat. In addition, the report says the officer smelled a strong odor of alcohol from Bumgardner's breath. The report goes on to say the state rep repeatedly denied drinking, but the arrest report notes his speech was slurred, he was swaying, and his blood alcohol content was twice the legal limit. According to the arrest report, Bumgardner's wife was sleeping in the back seat, where the officer also located, quote, a full corked bottle of wine. Now, Bumgardner is charged with reckless driving as well as driving under the influence. He's expected to be in court next on March 14th. Your reporter in Groton, Marcy Jones, Channel 3 Eyewitness News.
All right, breaking news from overnight. President Donald Trump's long-threatened tariffs against Canada and Mexico are now in effect.
And there are some concerns about the impact a trade war will have on things that you pay for every day. Roger Susanna now joins us with the latest developments from overnight. Raj?
Yeah, ladies, you mentioned that these threats had been made for a long time, and now at the stroke of midnight, they officially became a reality. And now we all are dealing with the consequences. At midnight, imports from Canada and Mexico began getting a whopping 25% tariff, along with 10% import duties tacked on to Canadian energy products. And the 10% tariff that Trump placed on Chinese imports last month has now ballooned to 20%, doubling. And just within the last few hours this morning, Chinese leaders have fired back with additional tariffs, about to 15%, on a whole bunch of U.S. farm exports. So hang on to your hats. This is truly becoming a full-blown tariff battle. Canada also announcing this morning tariffs on American goods. And Trump's moves have already raised inflation fears. And here in the Northeast especially, experts are warning that fuel and energy prices could go up since we rely heavily on those imports from Canada in this region. Investors already spooked. Stocks plunged after the news that those tariffs would move forward. And it's not clear at this point exactly what impacts there will be at the grocery store, but economists have emphasized that consumers usually end up footing the bill for tariffs one way or the other. Of course, we'll update you as things come into the newsroom right away. Live in the studio, I'm Roger, Suzanne, and Channel 3 Eyewitness News. I'll send it back over to you, ladies.
All right, thanks, Roger, for that. It is now 7:06, and we're staying on top of some developing news on the international front. President Trump says that he's pausing military aid to Ukraine, and this comes just days after a chaotic meeting in the Oval Office with Ukrainian President Volodymyr Zelensky. Now, he left that meeting without signing a rare minerals deal. The White House says that this new pause could be lifted if President Zelensky shows a new commitment to negotiate an end to the war with Russia.
Well, tonight, President Trump will give a speech during a joint session of Congress. He's expected to talk about his administration and plans for the future. Connecticut lawmakers will be there, along with some special guests from our state. Congressman John Larson will be joined by a mom from Berlin whose daughter has cystic fibrosis and benefits from research that the president plans to cut. Representative Joe Courtney will bring a veteran who's from Vernon and his IRS job was cut. And our state's Teacher of the Year will go along with Congresswoman Rosa DeLauro to talk about the importance of public education.
New details now. The U.S. Senate confirmed Linda McMahon as the nation's education secretary, that is, just a few hours ago. She is the former CEO of the WWE, and she also campaigned to be part of the U.S. Senate twice, but lost both times. And McMahon spent a year on Connecticut's State Board of Education. Now, President Trump has promised to shut down the education department, saying that he wants McMahon to put herself out of a job.
Governor Ned Lamont is going against his own party to veto a bill that includes $40 million in special education funding. Supporters say schools desperately need that money, but the governor says this bill is not fiscally responsible. 101 votes in the House, 24 in the Senate are needed to override that veto. A vote could happen as early as tomorrow.
Today, the state's largest teachers union is hosting a day of action in which they plan to highlight the possible consequences of eliminating the Department of Ed and along with slashing federal education funding.
Your reporter Olivia Schuler has more on how they plan to take action today and the possible impact on your child's education.
Yeah, Nicole and Tracy, there's a lot of moving parts here. Starting at 9:10 this morning, that's when educators are going to be marching from Oak Street to the Legislative Office building. And if you see them on the road, you may notice that they are going to be wearing the color red. And that's to show their support for both federal and state funding for Connecticut public schools. It's all a part of a nationwide initiative. Following the walk, the CEA will urge lawmakers to address some of their big priorities, including increasing special education funding, teacher salaries, addressing the teacher shortage crisis, and more resources. If the U.S. Department of Education is dismantled, CEA leaders think it could have dire consequences for students and staff. They estimate $321 million could be lost in federal education funding for the state. This comes on the heels of Governor Lamont vetoing special education funding. Tomorrow it will take some lawmakers to vote on that to overturn it. Your reporter in Hartford, Olivia Schuler, Channel 3 Eyewitness News.
All right, thanks, Olivia. Now at 7:09, a crisis team will be back at Cheshire High School today and for the rest of the week after a student was killed in a crash. Senior Max Tello died in a crash early yesterday morning. Police say that the car he was in slammed into a tree right near Wolf Hill and Blacks Roads. Investigators are still trying to figure out how it all happened.
This morning, a Meriden man is facing charges after a wild case of reckless driving. Police say they spotted him going 115 miles per hour on 91 North in Rocky Hill Sunday. That's when they say he sped up and swerved all over the road as troopers tried to pull him over. Police called off the chase and eventually tracked him down using his license plate number.
Right now, a bill is making its way through the state capitol that's aimed at giving police the ability to crack down on street takeovers. And this is an issue that's impacted communities around the state over the last few years. We've certainly done a number of stories on this. If the bill passes, towns and cities would be able to completely ban these street takeovers. Police would also be able to seize any car involved in one. Lawmakers will be holding a hearing on this at 11 a.m.
Good morning, everyone. It is 7:10. We're starting to warm up, especially in the New Haven area where it's now up to 36 degrees. Little cloud deck overhead, but some parts of our state enjoying, full sunshine. We have the clouds starting to build in, and that's going to be the case today. More clouds than what we saw yesterday, but it is warmer than what we experienced yesterday by some 5, 10, even 15 degrees warmer. Still have some teens on the map. That would be over towards Willimantic and Putnam. Otherwise, we have a lot of 20s and 30s popping up, and we're going to be headed into the 40s and even some 50s expected today. Look at that, 50 in Woodbury, also in Southington, Windsor, 51 degrees, 48 in Hebron, 47 Stores. So all these numbers above average. A normal high is in the low 40s. At the shoreline, you'll be just a touch lower just because of the wind coming off of the sound. But yeah, a very nice afternoon. But things start to go downhill late tomorrow. We'll explain more on that first alert weather day coming up here in just a few minutes. Tracy?
All right. Thanks so much, Jill.